Good morning, and welcome to today's Catholic Morning Prayer on November 25th, 2025. As we begin this new day, we are invited to turn our hearts toward God, seeking His guidance and strength for whatever challenges lie ahead. Morning prayer is not just a routine, but a chance to open our hearts, clear our minds, and place our hopes and plans into His hands, trusting that He will lead us with grace and wisdom. Today, let us ask God to fill us with courage, hope, and peace, so we can face the day with faith and perseverance. As we pray, let us also remember the saints and those who have gone before us in faith, those who have lived boldly for Christ and have set an example for us all. With each prayer, we bring our joys, our struggles, and our desires before God, knowing that He listens to every heartfelt petition. May this time of prayer inspire us to live today with open hearts, embracing His love and mercy in all that we do. Let us now begin our morning offering, trusting that God's grace will accompany us throughout this day. The beginning of each new day is a gift, a fresh opportunity to embrace God's presence and guidance. How we choose to start our day has a profound impact on the way we approach everything that follows. As Catholics, starting our day with prayer is not just a religious habit. It is an act of surrender, where we place our hearts and minds before God, trusting Him with the day ahead. Morning prayer provides a unique moment of connection with our Creator, setting the tone for the rest of our day. When we begin the day with faith, we are essentially making a conscious decision to prioritize our relationship with God over everything else. In a world that often moves at a rapid pace, it is easy to get caught up in the busyness and distractions of life. We might wake up already thinking about our to-do lists, the tasks ahead, or the worries we face. However, taking just a few moments to center ourselves in prayer can remind us that God is the one who is in control, and that His plan for us is greater than any challenge we may encounter. Morning prayer allows us to ask for His guidance, His strength, and His peace. By starting with prayer, we recognize that our strength does not come from ourselves, but from the Lord. This moment of stillness helps us to realign our priorities, shifting our focus away from earthly distractions and refocusing on the divine purpose God has for us. Whether it is a simple prayer of gratitude for a new day or a more structured morning offering, taking time to invite God into our morning can transform the way we experience the entire day. Moreover, prayer at the start of the day fosters a sense of peace. Instead of rushing through the morning, we allow ourselves to be still and rest in God's presence, preparing our hearts for the day ahead. By bringing our concerns, hopes, and desires before God, we acknowledge that we do not walk alone. It is a reminder that no matter what the day may hold, God is with us, guiding and sustaining us through every moment. The practice of starting our day with faith also strengthens our spiritual discipline. Just as we nourish our bodies with food each morning, prayer nourishes our souls, providing us with the spiritual sustenance needed to face the day with grace and humility. Each prayer we say, each moment we spend in God's presence, builds a foundation of faith that allows us to face whatever challenges come our way. When we begin our day with faith, we are reminded of God's unwavering love and faithfulness, which can empower us to live boldly and trust in His plans for our lives. Starting your day with faith is an invitation to live intentionally, to align ourselves with God's will, and to embrace the opportunities and challenges of the day with a heart open to His guidance. It is a powerful way to acknowledge that, with God, anything is possible, and that through Him, we can face each new day with renewed hope, strength, and purpose. As we continue our reflection on the importance of morning prayer, let's now consider the specific role that morning prayer plays in our spiritual lives. In a fast-paced world full of distractions, it is easy to forget the importance of taking time to pause, reflect, and connect with God. As we have already discussed, starting our day with faith sets the tone for the day ahead. However, the true beauty and power of morning prayer lie in its ability to not only center our hearts and minds on God, but also to deepen our relationship with Him. In this next section, we will explore why morning prayer is so vital and how it helps us find peace, focus, and strength for the day ahead. Morning prayer is more than just a tradition or a religious routine. It is a vital part of our spiritual journey that nourishes our soul and strengthens our faith. It is an intentional practice that helps us align our hearts and minds with God's will for us. The importance of morning prayer lies in its power to center us in God's presence, reset our priorities, and help us start each day with a renewed sense of purpose and peace. One of the greatest gifts of morning prayer is that it offers us a moment of stillness and peace before the busyness of the day begins. In a world where everything seems to move faster and faster, morning prayer gives us the opportunity to slow down and find quiet in the midst of the chaos. It is a time to pause, to breathe, and to let go of the distractions and stresses that often consume our thoughts. By taking this time to pray, we invite God to enter into our day from the very beginning, allowing Him to guide us through whatever may come. Furthermore, morning prayer serves as a reminder of our dependence on God. It is easy to become self-reliant and forget that we need God's grace and strength to face the challenges of life. When we begin our day with prayer, we acknowledge that we cannot do everything on our own, and that we need God's help to navigate the trials and tribulations of the day. It is a humble act of surrender, where we open ourselves to God's will and invite His presence into every aspect of our lives. Another significant aspect of morning prayer is the way it helps us prioritize what truly matters. In the busyness of our lives, it is all too easy to get caught up in our to-do lists, deadlines, and responsibilities. We can easily lose sight of what is most important, the love and guidance of God. Through prayer, we pause to reflect on our values and realign our focus, placing God at the center of our lives. Morning prayer reminds us that our lives are not merely about accomplishing tasks, but about living in accordance with God's will, serving others, and growing in faith. Morning prayer also allows us to express gratitude and find peace in the present moment. When we begin our day with an attitude of thanksgiving, we set the tone for the rest of the day. Gratitude is a powerful way to shift our perspective, especially when we face challenges or difficulties. Instead of focusing on what we lack, we focus on the blessings we have received. This practice of gratitude helps us cultivate a heart of contentment and trust in God's provision. Morning prayer helps us build spiritual discipline. Just as we need to nourish our bodies with food, our souls need nourishment through prayer. The more we make prayer a consistent part of our daily routine, the more our relationship with God deepens. Prayer becomes a way of life, not just something we do on Sundays or when we need something from God. By making morning prayer a habit, we open ourselves to God's transformative power and invite Him to work in our lives. Morning prayer is not just a ritual, it is an essential part of living a faith-filled life. It helps us find peace in the midst of chaos, prioritize our relationship with God, and build spiritual discipline. Through this simple yet powerful act, we open our hearts to God's presence, trusting that He will guide us, strengthen us, and help us face the day ahead with faith and courage. One of the most powerful ways to begin our day in prayer is by expressing gratitude and thanksgiving to God. Morning prayer provides the perfect opportunity to pause and reflect on all the blessings in our lives, both big and small, in a world that often emphasizes what we lack. Taking the time to focus on what we have can be incredibly transformative. Gratitude is a spiritual practice that shifts our focus from our struggles or desires to the goodness and faithfulness of God, who has provided for us in countless ways. When we begin our day with thanksgiving, we are making a conscious decision to acknowledge God's goodness and recognize His presence in our lives. It can be easy to become consumed by our daily tasks, responsibilities, and worries. But morning prayer reminds us to stop, breathe, and recognize the beauty and grace that surround us each day. Whether it's the gift of health, family, or simply the chance to experience a new day, there is always something to be grateful for. Taking time in prayer to thank God for these blessings not only deepens our relationship with Him, but also allows us to experience peace and contentment in the present moment. Gratitude in prayer also shifts our perspective. It can be easy to focus on the difficulties we face or the things that are going wrong in our lives, but a thankful heart opens our eyes to the many ways God is working in our lives, even in times of struggle. Instead of focusing on what we lack, gratitude helps us see what we have, which in turn fosters a spirit of joy and hope. A grateful heart recognizes that even in the midst of challenges, God's presence is still with us, guiding us, and providing for us. It is a reminder that He is always faithful, even when things don't go according to our plans. Furthermore, expressing gratitude in morning prayer helps us cultivate humility. It reminds us that everything we have, our life, our family, our talents, our health, comes from God. This acknowledgement of God's generosity encourages us to be more humble, recognizing that we are not in control of our lives, but that God's grace sustains us each day. Gratitude also teaches us to live with an open heart, ready to receive whatever God has planned for us. It moves us beyond a sense of entitlement and towards an attitude of thankfulness, recognizing that God's love is freely given to us. Additionally, gratitude in prayer can also be a source of strength. When we are thankful, we tap into a deeper sense of joy that empowers us to face the challenges of the day. Gratitude helps us find joy even in the ordinary, recognizing that each day is a gift. Regardless of our circumstances, it shifts our focus from what is lacking to what is abundant, allowing us to live with greater purpose and peace. In summary, gratitude is a central part of morning prayer. By incorporating thanksgiving into our daily prayers, we open ourselves to a deeper relationship with God, foster a spirit of humility, and shift our focus from our struggles to the blessings in our lives. Gratitude transforms the way we see the world, helping us to recognize God's presence and faithfulness in every moment. It is an essential practice that helps us approach the day with a heart full of peace, joy, and contentment, trusting that God will continue to provide for us as we walk with Him throughout the day. Persistence in faith is one of the most powerful and transformative aspects of our spiritual journey. As we wake up each morning and offer our prayers to God, we are essentially committing to be persistent in our faith. Regardless of the circumstances that we may face, life is full of challenges, uncertainties, and moments when our faith can be tested. Whether we are facing personal struggles, doubts, or obstacles in our daily lives, the practice of persistent faith through morning prayer helps us remain focused on the promises of God, trusting that He will guide us through every difficulty. Persistent faith is about remaining committed to God even when we do not see immediate results or answers to our prayers. It is a decision to trust God even when things do not go according to our plans. In the busyness and chaos of life, it is easy to lose sight of our spiritual goals and allow the trials of life to overwhelm us. However, by making morning prayer a regular part of our daily routine, we are training ourselves to approach each day with a heart that is rooted in faith and trust in God's providence. Morning prayer offers us the opportunity to renew our commitment to God and reaffirm our faith in His goodness and love. It is a moment to acknowledge that, despite our challenges, God is always with us, and that His presence is the source of our strength. Each morning, as we speak to God and open our hearts to Him, we are exercising our faith and affirming that, no matter what happens during the day, we trust in His will for our lives. Through persistent prayer, we learn to rely on God's timing and wisdom. There are times when we may feel discouraged or frustrated because our prayers seem unanswered or delayed. But persistent faith teaches us that God's timing is perfect, even when we do not understand it. When we keep coming back to Him in prayer, day after day, we are not only strengthening our relationship with God, but also building spiritual resilience that enables us to face life's challenges with grace. Persistent faith also involves trusting in God's faithfulness. The Bible is filled with stories of individuals who persisted in their faith, even when faced with trials, hardships, and opposition, from Abraham, who trusted God's promises even when he had no tangible evidence, to Job, who endured great suffering but never wavered in his faith. We are reminded of the importance of holding on to God's promises, no matter the circumstances. These stories serve as powerful reminders that God is faithful and that our persistence in faith will ultimately bear fruit. In morning prayer, we are invited to reflect on God's faithfulness in our own lives. As we think about the ways in which God has provided for us, guided us, and answered our prayers in the past, we are reminded that He is always present and always at work, even when we cannot see it. By starting each day with prayer, we are affirming our trust in God's faithfulness and placing our lives in His hands. This act of trust requires persistence. It is easy to believe in God's promises when things are going well, but persistent faith is tested when life becomes difficult. In those moments, prayer becomes even more important. As we speak to God each morning, we remind ourselves that He is with us through every trial, and that His plans for us are good, even when we do not fully understand them. Persistent faith is also essential for overcoming doubts and challenges that may arise throughout the day. Each of us faces moments when we question our faith or wonder whether God is listening to our prayers. In those times, it is easy to become discouraged and doubt God's presence or His willingness to help us. But persistent faith in morning prayer teaches us to press on, even when our doubts feel overwhelming. Doubts are a natural part of the human experience, and it is normal to have moments of uncertainty. However, persistent prayer helps us address those doubts with God. Instead of turning away from Him in moments of doubt, we can turn to Him, bringing our questions, fears, and struggles into His presence. In doing so, we invite God to speak into our doubts and strengthen our faith. When we persist in prayer, even in the face of doubts, we demonstrate our trust in God. We acknowledge that, although we may not have all the answers, we believe that God is good and that He will provide for us. In this way, persistent faith helps us overcome our doubts and grow in our trust in God's ability to carry us through any circumstance. One of the greatest gifts of persistent faith is its ability to transform our lives over time. As we persistently engage in morning prayer, we begin to see God's work in our lives more clearly. Our relationship with Him deepens, and we develop a greater understanding of His will for us. Persistent prayer shapes our character, helping us grow in patience, humility, and compassion. Through persistent faith, we learn to see the world through God's eyes. We begin to view challenges as opportunities to grow in faith and trust, rather than as obstacles to overcome. We learn to see God's hand in every situation, even in the most difficult moments. This perspective shift allows us to approach life with a sense of peace and confidence, knowing that God is always with us and that He will never leave us. Moreover, persistent prayer brings about transformation not only in our own hearts, but also in our relationships with others. As we grow in faith, we become more compassionate, loving, and understanding. The persistent prayer we offer each morning becomes a source of strength that extends beyond ourselves and touches the lives of those around us. Our faith becomes a testimony of God's goodness and faithfulness, and our persistence in prayer inspires others to seek God with the same unwavering trust. In conclusion, persistent faith is a crucial component of morning prayer. It is through persistent prayer that we cultivate spiritual resilience, trust in God's faithfulness, and overcome doubts and challenges. By committing to pray each morning, we build a strong foundation of faith that carries us through the ups and downs of life. Persistent faith teaches us to rely on God's wisdom and timing, trusting that He will guide us through every circumstance. Morning prayer is not just a moment of connection with God, it is a powerful tool for building and strengthening our faith. As we persist in prayer, day after day, we are transformed by God's love and grace. And as we persist in faith, we become living witnesses of His goodness, inspiring others to trust in His promises and rely on His faithfulness. Let us, therefore, approach each new day with persistence in our faith, knowing that through morning prayer, we are not only drawing closer to God, but also building the spiritual resilience that will carry us through every challenge. With unwavering faith, we can face the day with hope, knowing that God is always with us, guiding us, and strengthening us through every moment. Dear friend, living with purpose is one of the greatest gifts we can experience in our spiritual journey. It is easy to get caught up in the rush of daily life, focusing on tasks, responsibilities, and goals, sometimes losing sight of the bigger picture. However, when we begin each day with prayer, we are reminded that our lives are part of a much greater purpose, God's purpose. Morning prayer is an opportunity to realign ourselves with that purpose, to step out of our own concerns, and to acknowledge that each day holds the potential for something greater than we can imagine. By starting our day with intentional prayer, we open ourselves to God's guidance, allowing Him to lead us in fulfilling His plan for our lives. One of the most powerful aspects of morning prayer is its ability to help us align our hearts and minds with God's will. In the busyness of everyday life, it is easy to be distracted by personal desires or to focus solely on what we think we need to achieve. However, morning prayer serves as a reminder that we are not alone in our pursuits. When we begin our day in prayer, we surrender our plans to God and ask for His direction. It is a humble acknowledgement that our lives are not our own, but that we are here to fulfill God's purposes on earth. This alignment with God's will is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process. Each day, through prayer, we seek to discern His will more clearly, asking for wisdom and guidance. As we open our hearts in prayer, we invite God to lead us, giving Him permission to redirect our steps and decisions. This is particularly important because God's will often leads us to places or situations we might not have considered on our own. By seeking His guidance through morning prayer, we become more attuned to His voice and more willing to follow His lead, even when it takes us out of our comfort zones. Morning prayer is also an opportunity to reflect on our role in God's grand plan. It is easy to feel insignificant or overwhelmed by the vastness of the world, especially when we focus on our individual struggles or failures. However, prayer reminds us that every person has a unique role to play in God's kingdom. Each day, God offers us opportunities to contribute to His work, whether through small acts of kindness, sharing His love with others, or using our talents for His glory. Living with purpose means recognizing that every action, no matter how small, can have eternal significance when it is done for the Lord. Through morning prayer, we are reminded that every encounter, every task, and every moment of the day is an opportunity to fulfill God's purpose for our lives. This perspective changes how we view our responsibilities. Instead of simply going through the motions of daily life, we approach each moment with the intention of glorifying God and serving others. This shift in mindset transforms routine tasks into acts of worship, giving purpose and meaning to everything we do. Living with purpose also requires intentionality. It means being deliberate about how we spend our time, energy, and resources. Morning prayer is an opportunity to set our intentions for the day, asking God to help us live according to His will. In this time of prayer, we can reflect on the specific tasks and challenges we face, asking God to guide us in fulfilling them with excellence, integrity, and compassion. Intentional living through prayer helps us stay focused on what truly matters. In a world full of distractions, it is easy to get sidetracked by lesser priorities or by the pressures of the world around us. However, when we start the day in prayer, we remind ourselves of the eternal significance of living a life aligned with God's will. We ask God to help us stay centered on His purpose for us, allowing His peace and presence to guide us through the day. Furthermore, living with purpose means being proactive in our spiritual growth. Morning prayer is not just about asking God for help, but also about seeking to grow in our relationship with Him. It is about taking the time to cultivate a heart that is receptive to His leading, willing to learn, and open to transformation. By setting aside time each morning to pray, we are making a deliberate choice to prioritize our relationship with God and to commit to living according to His values. When we live with purpose, it also impacts the way we interact with others. Morning prayer reminds us that our relationships are not just random encounters, but opportunities to share God's love and to serve those around us. It is through living intentionally that we become better friends, family members, and community members. The purpose we find in God's plan allows us to be more compassionate, understanding, and selfless in our interactions with others. Furthermore, living with purpose extends beyond our personal lives and impacts the broader community. As we live with intention, we become beacons of God's light, sharing His love through our actions and words. Morning prayer prepares us for this by reminding us that we are called to serve others and to be agents of change in the world. It is through the small, daily choices we make in prayer that we are empowered to make a lasting impact on the lives of those around us. In conclusion, morning prayer is a powerful practice that helps us live with purpose. By beginning each day in prayer, we realign ourselves with God's will and open ourselves to His guidance. Prayer helps us recognize our role in His plan and empowers us to live intentionally, making every moment of our day meaningful. It transforms ordinary tasks into opportunities for worship, shifts our perspective, and allows us to approach life with a sense of mission. Through morning prayer, we are reminded that our lives have a greater purpose than just the pursuit of personal success or comfort. We are here to fulfill God's will, to love and serve others, and to live in accordance with His values. As we continue to cultivate a life of prayer, we grow in our understanding of God's plan for us, and we are empowered to live each day with purpose, trust, and intention. Let us embrace each morning as a chance to live with purpose, knowing that through prayer, we are partnering with God to make a difference in the world and fulfill His calling for our lives. As we conclude our reflection on the power of morning prayer, let us remember that each day is a new opportunity to align our hearts with God's will and live with purpose. Through the intentional act of starting our day in prayer, we invite God's presence into our lives, asking for His guidance, strength, and grace. Living with purpose through morning prayer transforms not only how we approach the day, but also how we see our roles in God's greater plan. It enables us to make every moment count, to act with intention, and to serve others with love and compassion. Now, I encourage you to make morning prayer a part of your daily routine. Start your day with faith. Express your gratitude and seek God's purpose in every task. Let us be persistent in our prayers, trusting in God's faithfulness and embracing the calling He has placed on our lives. Thank you for joining me in this time of reflection. If this video has inspired you, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to check out more videos that will guide you in strengthening your relationship with God and living out your faith daily, together. Let's continue to grow in prayer, purpose, and faith. God bless you.